Rapidly deteriorating. That's how the United Nations describes the situation in Syria. This activist video shows Homs, one of the worst-hit cities.
Allahu Akbar. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel.
The voice says, God is great. Baba Amr is crying from destruction and ruin. Your people are buried under you. On Tuesday, the Undersecretary General for Political Affairs announced a startling new death toll.
While we cannot give exact casualty figures, there are credible reports that the death toll now often exceeds 100 civilians a day, including many women and children. The total killed so far is certainly well over 7,500 people.
At an emergency session of the Human Rights Council in Geneva, a demand to end the violence and allow humanitarian access rejected by Syria.
The call for holding this session is part of a pre-established plan. It aims at attacking the Syrian state and its institutions under the pretext of humanitarian needs.
The Syrian ambassador stormed out, saying sanctions against his country were preventing people access to food and medicine. But the High Commissioner for Human Rights shot right back, saying the Syrian government had not done enough to address the crisis and should be prosecuted for war crimes.
These steps pale into insignificance in the face of the continuing onslaught of violence and arrest against people by state actors. In light of this, and in the face of the unspeakable violations that take place every moment, I remain convinced that referring the situation of Syria to the International Criminal Court will be a step in the right direction.
But in Washington, the U.S. Secretary of State cautioned against bringing a case against President Bashar al-Assad.
I think that based on definitions of war criminal and crimes against humanity, there would be an argument to be made that he would fit into that category.
Is there any effort to make that argument before the world community?
I think people have been putting forth the argument, but I also think that from long experience, that can complicate a resolution of a difficult, complex situation because it limits options to persuade leaders, perhaps, to step down from power.
Any referral to the International Criminal Court would have to come from here, the UN Security Council. But the Council isn't even considering it at this point. Ambassadors are focused on trying to get Russia and China on board to a new resolution that aims at alleviating the humanitarian situation in Syria. Until they do, international condemnation remains all talk and no legally binding action. Kristen Saloomey, Al Jazeera, the United Nations.